And at some point in this fasting process, your body moves into a state of autophagy. I've heard that word a few times.
Yeah.
What is that?
So autophagy or autophagy is how the body gets rid of senescent cells and waste products and cancer cells and it kind of eats up that debris and does the housekeeping. And there's some things that increase autophagy, and one of those things is fasting. If you take rodents, for example, and you let them eat ad libitum, they
What's ad
live
libitum?
as much as they want. They will live to a certain amount of time. If you take those rats and you periodically fast them, you can increase their lifespan from 30% to 100%, even though the diet's the same, just with periodic fasting or with systematic underfeeding. If you limit, instead of giving them as much to eat as they want, you feed them at 60% of what they would eat if they ate unlimited amounts, and you can dramatically increase their lifespan. It's an interesting way of looking at it. From my viewpoint, though, they're looking at it wrong. It's not that fasting doubles your lifespan. It's overfeeding cuts it in half.
Mhm.
By overfeeding the rodents, they're developing fat, visceral fat, they get the inflammation, and you cut their lifespan in half. So what fasting is doing is allowing them to live their full span by getting rid of the consequences of dietary excess.
So isn't the game here then just to not eat as much
The,
versus fasting?
absolutely. The idea is to avoid excess intake that results in excess fat, that results in excess visceral fat. The problem is it's very difficult to do that when they are putting chemicals in your feed that fool your satiety mechanisms and lead to overeating.
Satiety mechanisms being mechanisms that tell you whether you're hungry or not.
Right, whether your brain signals you accurately that the amount of calories you have. If you, for example, just sit down and eat your fill of whole plant foods, you eat a certain amount and then you feel full. But if you put certain chemicals in the feed, you'll eat significantly more before you trigger those satiety mechanisms and feel full. Those chemicals that we put in our food are salt, oil, and sugar. Salt, oil, and sugar are not food. They're hyperconcentrated components derived from food that are put back into food. And we put them into food to make food taste better. And what tasting better actually means is it results in more stimulation of dopamine in your brain. Dopamine is the neurochemical associated with pleasure. The more dopamine, the more pleasure, the more you like it. And so it turns out that higher caloric density foods, or foods that have chemicals like salt, oil, and sugar in the food, will stimulate more dopamine in the brain. And that's because your brain evolved in an environment of scarcity. It evolved where it was difficult to get enough to eat and avoid being eaten. And so richer foods had more value. And so the people that recognize the value of more concentrated foods tend to live to reproduce and pass on their DNA.